Good morning everyone, it is Kate from the Fold Line. I am back. It's week 6, we're talking Sewing Bee. I'm sorry if I sound a bit croaky again, as I said last week. I've just got up, so I haven't spoken to that many people yet. This is my first cup of tea. Yes, so let's have a chat about all things Sewing Bee. So it was Kids Week this week, which was really interesting actually. I really enjoyed this one. So the first challenge that they had to do was adaptive dungarees. So it was a pair of fairly simple dungarees but with features that would help kids with disabilities. And actually there was one thing that they did which I think all children's dungarees should just generally have. So the two kind of core things that they had to do for the technical challenge was on the strapping that went over the shoulder, they inserted a panel of elastic. I think all children's dungarees should have that because it makes it so much easier for the straps to get on and off when you're taking them to the toilet or they're younger, changing their nappies. And then they also had these poppers going up the side of the legs with splits so that you had easier access to the legs if you needed them. So it was a very interesting technical challenge. Quite tricky with the little details, and anyone who's made children's clothes will know everything is smaller and more fiddly. So the dungaree pattern that we found, which was pretty good actually, and it's a real classic. If you make kids clothes and you haven't found this and you like dungarees, this pattern is one of the most popular ones. It's the Waves and Wild Heyday dungarees. There's actually an adult version too if you love them and think I want them for me. Very similar, pocket on the front. Instead of having the proper hardware, it's got ties, but you could obviously add the hardware if you wanted. But yeah, it was pretty spot on actually. You can see that there were pockets in the front, seam down the front, which is very similar to theirs. Yeah, it just felt like a really kind of close match. And Waves and Wild, if you haven't come across them as a designer, they do loads and loads of kids wear, so they're definitely worth as a designer looking and checking out. So that was the first challenge. Second challenge, they had to, it was quite an interesting one. They were given pieces of maternity clothing and they had to turn it into something that a kid would wear, like to kind of play around in. It was really good actually, and they did some quite wild things this week. But yeah, so that was the second challenge. And I did notice this time, did anyone know, it was at this point, after the 2 challenges, it was neck and neck. Like, as they said, going into the kind of final day, they were like, actually we can't call it because everyone is so close. And I did notice that in the first challenge, the only reason that Kit won was because their stitching was slightly straighter than Jess's. So I mean, it was they were really kind of nitpicking to find things to kind of rank everyone. So finally, we have got the Made to Measure challenge, which I loved the theme of this week. So they had to create an outfit for a child based on what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I thought it was such a fun challenge. I personally would have absolutely loved to have done this. And I thought they did amazingly well. So let's get into it, shall we? So we've got Kaz first up. She wanted to be a fashion designer, was particularly inspired by Zandra Rhodes. She made this really amazing dress. It kind of had frilly little sleeves. It was quite high necked. All the prints on each bit were different. She had like a little beret and a pair of slightly kind of voluminous kind of barrel leg trousers that went underneath the dress. I thought it was really fun. I also loved that she got the little girl to colour in, colour a design onto the fabric. So it felt like she was really involved in it as well. So it was really sweet and I loved it. I thought it was such a clever outfit. So in terms of the patterns, I think, so the dress, we thought the Oh Me Oh My Amelia dress would be really close. It had that kind of frill. The neckline is slightly different. It's not as high, but it had that same sort of feel. If you haven't come across, they're a new designer we've got on the site, Oh Me Oh My. They do the most delicious selection of kids clothing. So I'll pop a link. Everything I mention, I should say, that is linked down below, so if you want to find anything. But I will link to all of their patterns because they are incredible and just amazing. So yeah, so I thought that one would work really well as the dress. Then for the trousers, we've got the Wardrobe by Me Volumen pants. And I picked these because they're quite boxy and barrel leg, and the trousers that she had created for the little girl were quite sculptural. So I feel like those two, not perfect, but they've had a really close feel. Next up was Dan. So Dan created a ringmaster outfit, which I thought was amazing. As soon as he said what he was making, I don't know about anyone else, I started to feel quite stressed. I was like, a shirt, a jacket and a pair of trousers. That feels very stressful. And every time I watched, I was like, so faster, please, so faster. And yeah, he had, I think, to be honest, I think it's incredible what he managed to produce in the time, but I think he'd sort of overestimated what he'd be able to get done. So we found a really good option, actually, the Burda 9528. It's a kind of costume pattern, but it comes with the shirt, the jacket and the trousers. I think it's a vintage pattern. I couldn't see loads of them for sale, so but just if you hunt that number out if you're interested, you should be able to find it. But yeah, so the jacket was red and the trousers were black and he had a white shirt, and I thought it was really amazing. So then we had GAYNOR, and she made a little ballet outfit because she wanted to be ballerina when she was little. So she had a sort of leotard with, is it called like a handkerchief hem, where the hem is all different, you know, you basically point lots of points. I think it is a handkerchief hem, and it was very sweet. So now I will say, you know, not that we're entering into this only be ourselves, but it is a cautionary tale. So GAYNOR's outfit was actually quite simple, and they did say, you know, oh, this is quite simple, but she executed it really well. Dan's, his was much more ambitious and, you know, in a way much more interesting, but because he couldn't get it finished, it meant that he ended up coming lower down in the pecking order. So it is quite interesting. It is really about getting the item finished and finished to a good standard. So anyone, you know, it's a cautionary tale. You just pick something slightly simpler that you know you're going to get done, because then you won't get in trouble. With Esme, you know, she's in looking at your hems. Anyway, so the leotard, this is an Etsy pattern. It's from Blood Designs Australia, and it's a long sleeve leotard pattern, very simple, but there's quite a lot of different options if you are looking. They do lots of different options, so it's kind of a good pattern as you get lots of different things. Then for the skirt, we thought the McCall 7345 would work really well. It's got that same it's got the handkerchief hem. Yeah, so I thought those two together would be pretty good. ORLA was next. I loved hers. She wanted to be a beekeeper. I mean, what a legend. And so hers was a beekeeping outfit. It was like a jumpsuit that zipped up, and then she had a hat with like tulle, and so that it looked like it was a proper beekeeper's hat. I thought it was really clever. She'd done extra lovely things, like she'd embroidered a bee on the back, and yeah, it was very kind of sweet. Anyway, jumpsuit, really great option, and actually I think one of my favourite kids patterns. It's the Fibre Mood Indigo jumpsuit. If you haven't seen it yet, it's amazing. Obviously it's unisex. It doesn't have the zip up the front, but you could obviously add that. But yeah, it's got little poppers. I just love it. Absolutely love this pattern. So yeah, I thought that was quite a good option. Next up, we've got Stuart, and Stuart wanted to be an Arctic explorer, which I love, and he'd also brought with him this little like Action Man doll that I think was probably his, and yeah, I thought it was a good outfit. So he had this kind of oversized pullover coat with a pocket on the front and a hood, and then a pair of quite simple trousers that were tucked into kind of wellies. I thought his was actually really great, and then he'd done these mitts to go with it. So for the top, we went for the Burda Children's 9213. It's a hoodie, but you could obviously make it in whatever fabric you like, because I think his felt like it probably was that. It's got the pocket on the front, and then he added some fur around his hood, so that kind of finished it off. Then for the trousers, we went for the Waves and Wild Sunday pants, and I thought that was a really good, I mean, they're a great pair of trousers and they felt quite similar in the shape, but you could kind of have picked anything. Then was Kit, and they had, I think, they wanted to be a pop star, but in particular, or maybe they just wanted to be Elton John, and their outfit was really good actually. It was a pair of dungarees and with a kind of sparkly long sleeve top underneath, and the back of was it the back or the front? I can't remember now. The pockets had stars stuck onto them. It was a really fun outfit. So for the patterns, we picked, for the top, which was a very simple long sleeve sort of top, I went for the Oliver and S school bus t-shirt. This was perfect, you know, and actually a really good staple if you're ever looking for kind of basic pattern. Then for the dungarees, I went with the Ready to Sew penny overalls. If you haven't seen these are amazing. They felt quite similar. There's probably a bit more construction in these than Kit's ones, but I thought that, you know, it's got the same sort of feel. And then finally we have Yasmin, which I have to say her choice made me chuckle so much. So Yasmin wanted to be a politician, which I don't know why I find it so funny that a kid would want to be a politician. So she made this quite prim and proper outfit, which again, put on a child, added to the kind of humour of it. So she made like a little pleated skirt with a kind of tailored jacket over the top, and then and it has a rosette on it. But it really, honestly, it really tickled me that she wanted to be a politician. So patterns for this, for the pleated skirt, there's an Oliver and S one, and it's just called the pleated skirt. It also comes with a top that is pictured, but yeah, that one was very good. And then for the jacket, it's a bird pattern. It's the 9215, which felt very close, very simple, kind of little tailored jacket. Yeah, so that was it this week. I thought it was a really fun one. I'm a little bit scared about next week. Actually, I will say, I'm not 100% sure that I'll be able to do a video next week. Both Rachel and I are on holiday, and we're just, basically, if there isn't a video, that is why. Apologies, because we're on holiday. If we manage to do one, we will try, but I can't promise 100% that we'll be able to do one. We'll just have to see how we go. Yeah, anyway, so that is it from me this week. I hope that was good and you found something to inspire you. And yeah, I'm getting very excited. It's getting now, because we've done week 6, so we're now, you know, we're 4 episodes from the end. It's getting quite spicy. Sorry, I completely forgot. One of the things that was probably my highlight of last night to talk about was Kit's outfit. Did anyone, it was so incredible. I loved it. As soon as they came onto the screen, it just was very joyful. It felt quite Toy Story, the kind of, the fabric, the cowboy hat. It was just absolutely wonderful. So I'm actually quite excited to see what they're actually going to wear next week for Artist Week, because they can really go to town on that outfit. Anyway, I will let you get on with your days. Have a lovely, lovely rest of the day. Bye.